إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who guided us to this way of life, Al-Islam. And we were not to be guided if it were not for His guidance. فالحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. My dear brothers and sisters, I hope we are still in the mood of praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us together again, for opening our masajid for ibadah after a period of time that it was shut. I hope we are still in gratefulness, thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to be alive again, to worship Him, to spend time in making dhikr for Him and to Him. I hope we should not go back to the state that was before, where we were oblivious, taking things for granted. If there is one thing we can learn out of all this, is not to take anything for granted. When we take things for granted, things can be taken away from us. So let's not forget that, and let's keep that momentum of being so excited coming back to the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إنما يعمر مساجد الله من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر. Those who truly fill and deserve to be in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those who believe in Allah and the last day. So let's do our best to try by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala among those. A couple of weeks ago, we were sharing the position of Islam and the Muslim community regarding what's happening around us and in our society, and how important that the Muslim community should be concerned. And we have to be concerned for many reasons. One of the reasons that we shared last time is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us in the Quran that إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. The core, the spirit of this deen is looking for justice, looking for fairness, looking for opportunity for everyone to be the best that he or she can be in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we learned that justice is very important. Ihsan is very important. And I hope we don't forget that. So the Muslim community should be concerned of what's happening around it, what's happening within it, where there are many people who are subjected to injustices, and we should be concerned. And we learned that is of the core of our deen, because our deen tells us, "Unsur akhaka zaliman aw mazluma." Lend support to your brother, whether he is zalim or mazlum, whether he is transgressed or being transgressed, whether he is being transgressor or he is being transgressed. So the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim, when they heard this statement, they were puzzled. They said, "Ya Rasulullah, ننصره مظلوما فكيف ننصره ظالما?" We can lend him support when he is being transgressed upon, but how can we support him if he is doing the transgression? فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تحجزه عن الظلم فذلك نصر له. تحجزه عن الظلم فذلك نصر له. You stop your brother in citizenship, your brother in society, your brother in the faith from committing dhulm. Actually, that is lending support to him or her. And this teaches us beautiful position for the Muslim community. That's why we should be concerned to do our best to bring healing to the society, to bring healing to the wounds that has been bleeding for a long time, to lend support to those who need support, but in the same time, in the proper way, in the legal way, peaceful way, in the peaceful way. But hopefully, inshallah, everybody will be benefiting from it. So my dear brothers and sisters, it is very important that we understand these concepts, not so it is very important that we understand these concepts, not just repeat them, not just repeat the words, but hopefully we understand them and we understand how to apply them in our life. So, "Unsur akhaka zaliman aw mazluma," Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. Also, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us الدين النصيحة. الدين النصيحة. قيل لمن يا رسول الله؟ قال لله ولرسوله قال لله ولكتابه ولرسوله وللمؤمنين ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The deen, the essence of religion, practicing religion, faith, is sincerity, is proper advice, sincerity. So the companions of Ridwanullahi alayhim, they asked him, to whom this nasiha should be? He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to Allah, by being faithful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by being sincere in your faith to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to his book, by being sincere in following the teachings of the Quran, and to his messenger, by following his footsteps, and to the leaders of the believers, and to the general folks, the general believers. So from that perspective, ad-deenun nasiha, it is very important that we understand this concept, especially in circumstances like this. This brings the Muslim community to a unique position of da'wah, a unique position where Islam and Muslims are to deliver their duty towards humanity, towards the society, by bringing goodness to the society, to those who are suffering and to those who are not suffering, or even to those who may be doing the suffering to others. So the Muslim community is in a unique position to try to contribute positively to the society that we live in, to bring healing, to bring justice. And this is very important. And actually the Muslim community is very much aware and very much concerned, unlike what some people think, that the Muslim community is not aware and it is not concerned. The reason is our history is full of so many injustices that the Muslims were subject to. In many places of the world, in many parts of our history, the Muslims suffered and still suffering until today in many parts of the world. As a matter of fact, the Muslim community, as immigrants who came to this land, many of us came to this land because we were running away. We were running away from injustices. How many people ran away from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, from Palestine, from India, from Kashmir, from Syria, from Yemen, from Iraq, and the list continues, and from Rohingya, and from China, from many places where the wounds are still bleeding until today. So the Muslim community, everywhere you go in this country and in Europe and in many places, are many parts of this Muslim community are people who run away from suffering, run away from injustices. So we know what injustice is. We know the pain of injustices. And hopefully we know how to contribute positively. So hopefully those kind of injustices will be eliminated. My dear brothers and sisters, the first community of Islam in Mecca, as they were subject to those injustices, as a matter of fact, they demonstrated what needs to be done and how they were subject to that kind of injustice. And we know what happened to Bilal, and we know what happened to Ammar ibn Yasir and his family, and we know what happened to many of those early Muslims. And then after that, what happened? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, seeing what's going on with that baby community, with that early community, and how to preserve that community from being crushed and give it a chance to grow and to be able to contribute to the rest and carry on the work of da'wah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam advised that early community to migrate. And I'm not talking about the migration from Mecca to Medina. That early migration from Mecca to Al-Habasha. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the most sensitive man to injustice, the one who was subjected himself, the one who was subjected to injustice among his own people, he was very sensitive to injustice. And he advised his early group of believers to migrate to Al-Habasha. This indicates to us something very important. That in the eyes of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's not black or white. It's not black or white. There were so many rules and so many kingdoms around him in Arabia. The kingdom of the Rome, the kingdom of Faris, Persia, other kind of... And he has chosen that first group to go to the Black Africa, to go to Al-Habasha, to go to Ethiopia. And the reason is very obvious, because there was justice in that land. So he told the first group who migrated from Mecca to Al-Habasha, to Abyssinia, he said, اذهبوا إلى تلك البلاد فإن فيها ملكا لا يظلم عنده أحد. Go to that place called Al-Habasha, for in it there is a king. No one will be transgressed in his land. And we know the rest of the story. The rest of the story. The rest of the story is, it's a long story. I'm not going to say it right now. It's going to take the entire Khutbah Al-Jummah or more. But the essence of the story is, as soon as they left over there, Quraysh went after them to bring them back. And those leaders of Quraysh were face to face with the king, thinking the king is going to, for sure, he's going to bring them back to them. Because they are considered to be rebels. They are considered to be, bad people, going out of the norms of their society. But the king was fair. The king was just. He said, no, I am not going to give them up to you until I hear from them. And when he heard from them, that beautiful speech of Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, where he made his case very clearly and listed all the injustices that were done in Mecca, and how Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam came as a savior, not only to them, but to the entire society and to the entire humanity, leading them to do that which is good, leading them to stay away from immorality, leading them to be good people to their families, to their relationships, to their blood relationships, and so on and so forth. So then, when he heard, and most importantly, is telling them to abandon the worshipping of idols and worship Allah alone. So when the king heard this from him, he said, do you have a piece of the teaching of this messenger? He said, yes. And he read to him from Surah Maryam. Kaf, ha, ya, ayn, sad. And he recited to him the story of Maryam alayhi salam. And when the king heard that, surrounded by his priests and supporters, they were crying. Tears were wetting their beards and their books. And he said, the king said, this and what Jesus has taught is coming from the same source. Is coming from the same source. And the end result, he said to those leaders of Quraysh who came to bribe him, to take them away, he said, I am not going to give them up to you, not even with a mountain of gold. You see, so the Prophet ﷺ, not only he knows his society, Not only he knows his surrounding, but actually he knew what's going on in the world. And he was aware of justice being done in this land. Justice being done in this society called Al-Habasha, under the ruling of this king. And he loved justice. And we know the end of the story is what? That community lived over there, happily and peacefully. And we know the end of the result is what? That king became a Muslim. He did not see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From far away, he learned about him and he accepted Islam. And the Prophet alaihi salatu wasalam loved him. And when he heard about his death, he told the companions, pray for your brother. Your brother. It's not black or white. It's not black or white. It's your brother in the faith. Because he was Muslim and he accepted Islam and he was a just ruler. So my dear brothers and sisters, hopefully this will give us, will inspire us to love justice, to love supporting justice, and to love contributing positively to our society to bring healing to the wounds that have been bleeding for a long time. However, peacefully, legally, and in the right way. We don't want to make something that is bad become worse. We would like to do things the Islamic way. And I believe we Muslims, the Muslim community, historically is in a very unique position to do the right thing. بإذن الله تعالى. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. My dear brothers and sisters, there are many messages that we could send over there. Messages to the Muslim community, messages to the Muslims everywhere, messages to everyone who is part of this society. Is, as I said last time, America, the United States of America, is not black and white, or black or white. It is colorful. That's what makes this society beautiful. It is colorful. It's for everyone. Therefore, everyone is to contribute to the well-being of this society. Number two, we as a Muslim community, we have to be sensitive to those things that divide us. And the early community went through a process, a procedure to cleanse themselves from those ailments of racism, of discrimination, tribalism. But today we are also suffering from something like that within the Muslim community. Don't we feel sometimes, don't we see sometimes people get together based on nationalism, based on tribalism, based on the language they speak, based on their tradition. But that's not Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came actually to change exactly that. He said, دعوها فإنها منتنة. When at times some of different groups from those Muslims, believers, and they were fighting with each other because of tribalism, because of this or that. He told them, دعوها فإنها منتنة. Leave it, it's thinking. That is prejudice, that is tribalism. Loving one another not on the basic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the faith, but on the basic of who I am in terms of where I came from, in terms of what language I speak, in terms of my wealth, social status. No. So those kind of ailments do exist among us. And what's happening out in the society hopefully will bring some sensitivity within us So try to get rid of these kind of problems. How often, sometimes, we neglect my brother or my sister just because he doesn't speak my language, or he is not from my country, or he is not from my tribe, or he is not from my region. How often we do that. So let's be sensitive, and be sensitive to our brothers and sisters who are not necessarily from this masjid, but they are from other places, that ad-deen is for everyone. كلكم من آدم وآدم من تراب, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you are all the children of Adam, and Adam is from dust. That is what is unique about this faith. That is what is unique about Islam. My dear brothers and sisters, let's wake up that this is an opportunity to live our deen and to share it with others. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا هداة مهتدين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار آمين ثم آمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم واستغفروه يغفر لكم فيا فوز المستغفرين وأقم الصلاة